Hey, have you left home yet? I know the question sounds loaded, like I'm checking my rearview mirror for signs of pursuit. But that's exactly how it felt the day I stepped out of my childhood bedroom, shoved all my belongings into a ratty duffel bag, and heard my father's voice boom down the hallway like a judge delivering a verdict. "Get out," he'd said, face flushed, finger pointed so hard I thought he might snap it. "You're nothing but trouble. If you don't pack your things and leave by sundown, I'll call the police and have you arrested for trespassing on private property." My mother hovered behind him, shoulders trembling, eyes red but resolute. My sister, 16, fiercely loyal, stood at the doorframe, tears streaming, gloves still on from her part-time job at the cafe down the street. She looked at me as if I were some fugitive wanted for crimes I didn't even know I'd committed. That morning, I'd woken to the smell of bacon sizzling, the usual soundtrack of Dad's sermon on fiscal responsibility. I was 22 and freshly graduated, valedictorian, honors student, internship-lined resume, but apparently none of it mattered now. In his eyes, I'd betrayed the family code. I had fallen in love with someone inappropriate, someone who didn't fit our sleek image of economic success and inherited privilege. I wasn't sure how it had come to this. I'd always done what was expected: straight A's, come home by curfew, attend the Rotary Club fundraisers, and smile for the cameras when Dad was up for community service awards. But when I met Lena at that summer internship, her laugh easy as sunshine, her hair curling like wild tendrils of freedom, I never saw the storm brewing behind her bright eyes. So that morning, as I carried my plate of eggs to the table, I saw it in Dad's gaze before he even spoke. The disdain, the fury. "Who is she?" he asked, voice low. I swallowed, braced myself. "She's a coworker," I said. "We're seeing each other." Silence. Then seeing each other, like dating? "You're too young for distractions. You're undermining your future, our future." I told him I loved her. He laughed, a bark of disbelief. "Love? You don't know what love is. You know what I know? I know you're making a mistake that'll haunt you for life." He turned to Mom. "Give him time to pack." It happened so fast after that. By dusk, my belongings were in the car: textbooks, photo albums, my guitar. Lena drove me to her cramped apartment, 2 rooms, peeling wallpaper, rent-controlled dreamland. I looked at her, heart pounding. "Sorry," I whispered. She kissed my temple. "It's okay. You needed to come here." The first night away was surreal. I lay on her couch, threadbare cushions, blanket that smelled like old cinnamon, and stared at the ceiling. Every creak sounded like Dad's voice. "You're dead to me." Every shadow felt like eviction. I drifted into sleep, clutching my phone, hoping for a text from my sister. She never sent one. Morning light brought a flurry of missed calls. Mom, Dad, the campus counseling center. I switched off my phone and went to grocery store. Lena held my hand as we selected cereal and bread. "How are you doing?" she asked, delicate as glass. I shrugged. "I feel like an outlaw." I forced a laugh. "Wanted for the crime of following my heart." She put an arm around me. "They'll come around." I wanted to believe her. But when I called home that afternoon, Dad answered on the first ring. "Don't call here again," he said. Voice clipped. "You burned your bridges." I hung up. Lena hugged me until my shoulders slumped. "We'll build new ones," she said. In the days that followed, I stumbled through a new routine: coffee shop job from dawn to noon, evenings sweeping floors at a bookstore, Lena's couch as my alone time. I felt unmoored, untethered from the life I'd known. But there was an odd exhilaration in it, a sense of starting over, raw and untamed. Then came the knock on the door. 2 uniformed officers stood on Lena's stoop. My stomach dropped. "I'm Officer Ruiz, and this is Officer Halstead," the taller one said, voice polite. "Can we talk to you for a moment?" I swallowed. Was I really about to be arrested for stepping foot in my own childhood home? I followed them outside. They showed me a piece of paper, a trespassing notice, filed by my father, naming me explicitly. It said I was forbidden within 50 meters of the property. Violate this, and I'd face charges. I looked at Lena, helpless. "They filed what?" I muttered. Officer Ruiz cleared his throat. "Your father says you removed essential property, electronics, furniture. He wants it returned, or repayment made." I blinked. I was accused of theft. My own father was charging me with stealing from him. We packed my things. I touched my bag. "Everything in there is mine." He nodded. "That's what he claims. He says some items are missing. We just came to let you know. No need to panic." But panic is exactly what I felt. I watched them leave, vanishing around the corner, and sank against the door frame. Lena knelt beside me, eyes wide. "This is insane." "It's my family," I whispered. "I don't know them anymore." That night, I lay awake again, mind racing. I was homeless in the city of my birth, accused of crimes I didn't commit, exiled by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. And yet, there was something liberating too. I was no longer a pawn in Dad's legacy. I was on my own terms. I spent the next morning drafting an email. No more than an email, a manifesto to my family. I poured out every wound, the suffocating dinners, the whispers behind my back, the cold disappointment in my father's eyes. I told them I loved them, but I refused to live in a cage of their expectations. I refused to apologize for being who I was. I hesitated before hitting send, then I did. What followed was silence. Days without reply, emails unopened. Lena tried to console me. "They'll answer eventually," she insisted. But I wondered if I'd burned that bridge beyond repair. Then, 3 nights later, my phone buzzed. A group chat invitation from my sister. I clicked. She wrote, "Can we talk?" My heart lurched. I typed back, "Yes." She replied, "Meet me at the cafe you used to work. 5 p.m. I arrived early, nerves jangling. When she slid into the seat across from me, she sniffed. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "I hated seeing you go. It was awful at home without you." She paused. "Dad's changed." My pulse quickened. Changed how? She took a breath. He's not himself. "Mom, she's crying every night. He didn't want to show it, but he drinks now." Her lip trembled. "He called the cops because he was drunk. He doesn't even remember filing that notice." A dull ache spread through me. "So what does this mean?" I whispered. She exhaled. "He wants you home. He said if you come back, he'll drop the charges and everything will be like before." I closed my eyes, fighting tears. "I can't go back there," I said. "Not yet." She reached across the table, squeezed my hand. "I know, but he's in trouble. He needs you." I pulled my hand back. "I'm still angry. He treated me like a criminal." She gave me a sad smile. "He's a criminal too, of his own vices, but he's my dad. He needs you." I stared at my coffee, swirling cream like a tiny storm. Could I forgive him? Would I? Part of me longed for home, Mom's apple pies, my old room, but another part recoiled at the memory of that icy command. "Get out." The world outside was unforgiving, exhilarating and unpredictable. Inside, it had suffocated me. I looked up at my sister. "I'll help them," I said slowly. "But on my terms. They have to apologize. They have to acknowledge what they did." Her face brightened. I told him the same. A week later, I found myself opening the door to the house I once called home, heart hammering, bag slung over my shoulder like a shield. Dad sat at the kitchen table, head in hands. Mom hovered behind, wringing her apron. They stood as one when I stepped in, uncertain, vulnerable. "I'm here," I said softly. Dad lifted his head. His eyes were red-rimmed. He stumbled over words, then said, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. He paused, tears falling. I lost myself. My throat tightened. I exhaled. "You hurt me," I said. "You exiled me. You accused me of crimes." He nodded, shame etched on his face. "I know. I'm sorry." Mom came forward, encircled me in an embrace so fierce it quaked my ribs. My sister slipped her arm around my waist. I stood there, breathing in the scent of home, cinnamon and old wood polish, safety and heartbreak entwined. Later, we sat around the table. No cameras, no applause, just the hum of the refrigerator, and Dad's tentative attempts at small talk. I realized that forgiveness wasn't an eraser. It was a bridge built from raw honesty and trembling hope. As the evening light faded, I found Dad in the hallway. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I'd never seen before. "Thank you," he said, voice small. I smiled. "Just don't call the cops again." He chuckled, a brittle sound that turned warm. "Deal." In that moment, I understood. We were both criminals of the heart. He for destroying the family ties, and I for fleeing them. But we had begun to rebuild. And maybe that was the greatest redemption of all. I never thought that walking back through our front door would feel like stepping onto a tightrope, every step a test of balance, every breath a prayer that I wouldn't plummet into old mistakes. But there I was, standing in the hallway where months earlier my father had told me to get out, now greeting me with a tentative nod and a pair of remorseful eyes. It was just past sunrise, the morning light slanting through the windows and painting his face with a softness I hadn't seen in years. "I made coffee," Mom said, her voice gentle as she ushered me into the kitchen. The aroma of freshly ground beans swirled around us, and for the first time in half a year, I felt the weight on my chest shift, just enough to let me breathe. We sat at the small table, a place I'd avoided since leaving, but today it felt comfortable, familiar. Mom poured my coffee and placed a plate of scrambled eggs before me. Dad hovered by the counter, hands jammed in his pockets, his usual businessman's poise replaced by quiet vulnerability. "I don't expect things to go back to normal overnight," Dad began, voice low. "But I want to try, if you'll let me." I looked at him, the memories flooding back, summer evenings on the porch, Dad teaching me to throw a baseball, bedtime stories about world travel. "I want that too," I said. "But I need time. I need you to understand that my life doesn't revolve around what you want." He nodded, and I saw something in his eyes, regret yes, but also relief. "Tell me what you need," he said. I took a sip of my coffee, feeling its warmth spread through me. "I need honesty, no more ultimatums. If you disagree with my choices, tell me, but don't threaten me with the police or cut me off. We can hash things out, like adults." Dad exhaled, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. "Agreed," he said simply. Over the next week, I moved my things back into my old room. Dad helped me carry boxes. Mom fussed over wallpaper chips I hadn't bothered to notice before. My sister dropped off her spare comforter, hugging me tight, and Lena, my refuge through all this, held my hand as she watched me reclaim my space. At first, our conversations were stilted. We tiptoed around old wounds, using safe topics, weather, work, family health, to rebuild trust. But one evening, Dad dropped his pen on the kitchen table and said, "I read your email." I froze. The email, my raw manifesto, the one I'd sent in anger. Mom had printed it and left it on his desk. He pushed the printed pages toward me. "Can we go over this?" I nodded, bracing myself. We sat side by side on the couch, and he listened, really listened, as I walked him through each paragraph, my sense of betrayal, my fear of disappointing him, my yearning for acceptance. When I finished, he was silent. "I'm sorry," he finally said, voice cracking. "Every word you wrote, I felt it. I didn't realize how badly I'd hurt you," he sighed, rubbing his eyes. "I lost sight of who you are." I swallowed. "I'm not the kid you raised to fit your model. I'm me." He took my hand. "I know, and I'm proud of you. I miss you." Tears welled up, and I squeezed his hand. "I miss you too." That moment cracked open something between us. From then on, our dinners became real conversations. We argued over politics, laughed about old family vacations gone awry, and even teased each other like the father-son duo we'd once been. The morning I returned to work felt less like abandonment and more like extension. Dad sent me a text halfway through the day. "Hang in there, champ." Lunch Friday, I smiled at my phone. Lunch it is. Of course, reconciliation wasn't the end of the journey, just a new beginning. 2 weeks after I moved back, Dad asked me to accompany him to an AA meeting. He'd confessed to Mom that the guilt and stress had driven him back to the bottle more than once. I remember the fluorescent glare of the church basement, the circle of folding chairs, and the raw honesty of strangers. When it was Dad's turn, he stood, voice trembling. "I'm Michael, and I'm an alcoholic." He spoke of pride, control, and the terror of losing his family. When he finished, the room welcomed him with applause and embraces. I felt my heart swell, not for the courage it took to admit his addiction, but for the strength it showed in facing it. On the drive home, Dad reached over and patted my leg. "Thank you for coming." I glanced at him. Always. Meanwhile, my own life with Lena was blossoming in unexpected ways. We found a small rental just 2 blocks from the family home, enough space to spread our wings, but close enough to stay connected. Our apartment had no fancy finishes, exposed brick, a sagging couch, and an eclectic gallery of thrift store art. But it was ours, a place where we could dream. Lena enrolled in night classes to finish her degree, and I coached her through essays, sometimes falling asleep on her shoulder as she read drafts aloud. She cooked me meals I'd once scoffed at, experimental stir-fries, cinnamon-infused oatmeal, and I learned to appreciate the comfort of sharing a simple dish. On weekends, we volunteered at the community center where Dad had first met Mom years ago. Together, we organized donation drives, taught cooking classes, and hosted family counseling sessions, using our own story as a testament to the power of compassion and second chances. Watching Dad embrace vulnerability and transform it into service left me in awe. The man who'd once threatened me with jail now welcomed at-risk teens into his home, guiding them with the same firm kindness he'd shown me at bedtime. But life never stays smooth for long. One night, as I was drafting a proposal for a regional grant, I heard Dad's car screech into the driveway. I rushed outside to find him hunched over the wheel, face buried in his hands. His cheeks were wet. "Dad," I said, heart pounding. He lifted his head, eyes red. "It's Mom," he choked. "They found her collapsed in the kitchen. The doctor says it might be her heart." My breath caught. Mom, my rock, the gentle queen of our household, laid unconscious in a sterile hospital room. Lena hugged me as I called the ER, and within the hour I was at Mom's bedside, holding her hand as the IV drip blinked steadily. Dad arrived moments later, tears streaming. He knelt beside me and whispered, "She fought so hard for us." For 3 days, I sat in that hospital waiting room, acutely aware of every tick of the clock. Lena brought me coffee and sat in silence, her presence a balm. Dad paced the corridors, caught between prayer and panic. When Mom finally opened her eyes, she squeezed my hand. "I heard you were home," she rasped. I leaned over her bed. "We're all here." She smiled faintly, and that was enough. Watching her recover, slowly, steadily, reminded me that family isn't just blood or tradition. It's the choice to stand by one another, in sickness and in health, through lapses and breakthroughs. After Mom left the hospital, our home felt different, warmer, more alive. We installed a heart monitoring system in the kitchen, and Dad took on a lighter schedule at work to be her caregiver. I moved back into our family house part-time, juggling my nights in the new apartment with Lena and my days helping Dad with grocery runs and doctor appointments. The weeks turned into months. Dad's sobriety held, and he became a mentor at AA, guiding newcomers through the rocky terrain of recovery. Mom regained her strength, and her laughter returned, richer than before. My sister, always the silent witness, bloomed into her own. She graduated high school with honors, and Dad celebrated with a backyard barbecue that left me feeling a rush of earned pride. Through it all, Lena and I found our rhythm. We navigated the push and pull of my responsibilities and our relationship, learning to communicate when the weight of family care threatened to drown us. We carved out date nights, karaoke at a dive bar, where Dad occasionally joined us, off-key but wholly enthusiastic. We planned trips to the coast, camping under star-strewn skies, where the only demands were to pitch a tent and stoke the fire. And then came the ultimate test of our newfound strength, an offer for me to move cross-country, a promotion that would double my salary and launch my career. The catch was leaving my family support system behind, the one I'd fought so hard to rebuild. I sat at the kitchen table one evening, after Mom had dozed in her recliner, and Dad was asleep in his study. Lena joined me, tracing rings on my coffee mug. "Tell me what you're feeling," she said softly. I closed my eyes. Excited, terrified, guilty. She nodded. "It's your dream, and it's okay to chase it. But what about all of this?" I gestured to the home around us, to the framed family photos lining the walls, to the small garden Dad tends out back. "What about the bridges we built?" She reached across and took my hand. "Bridges aren't one-way streets. They stay standing if both sides tend them. You can build a life anywhere and still come back." I looked into her eyes and saw the unwavering belief that had carried me through every storm. "Okay," I whispered. "Let's do it." The next morning, I broke the news to Mom and Dad. They sat across from me at breakfast, my scrambled eggs now a ritual of love rather than obligation, and I watched their faces shift from surprise to pride. "We knew you'd soar," Mom whispered, reaching across to squeeze my hand. Dad cleared his throat. "Just promise you'll visit. And if you ever need a place to land, this is your home." I smiled, tears pricking my eyes. "Always." A month later, I packed my life into boxes once more, this time with excitement instead of dread. Lena and I drove away under a sunrise that felt like a benediction. Behind us, the family house stood solid, a testament to pain and forgiveness welded into its foundation. On the road, I glanced at Lena, her head leaning against the passenger window. "Hey," I said, voice thick with emotion. "Have you left yet?" She turned to me, smile bright as day. "I'm right here." I reached over and took her hand, feeling the hum of possibility between us. Whatever awaited in the miles ahead, I knew we carried home within us, in our shared laughter, our scars, and the bridges we had rebuilt, one conversation at a time.